Good morning and welcome to today's webinar. Thrilled to have Bobby and Phil here, both from GFS, because there's been quite a lot of trouble since Brexit with just shipping stuff. And I'm delighted to say today, we've got some solutions for you. So we're not just going to go through problems again, we're actually going to give you a live demonstration of best practice that if you could have the best possible solution in the world, we're going to show you how it works. But before we get into that, welcome Phil, welcome Bobby. Tell us a bit about yourself, Bobby. Who are you? What do you do?
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Chris. My name's Bobby Tulis. I'm Group Marketing Director for GFS.
And Phil, welcome Phil.
Hi Chris, hi everybody. I'm Phil Bradley-Smith. I'm a technology specialist at GFS.
Technology specialist, I think that's just what we need to sort out our shipping issues. So Bobby, tell us briefly about GFS. Who are you? What do you do?
Sure. Well, hopefully a lot of the Tame Bay members are familiar with GFS now. But GFS was set up more than 20 years ago, Chris, and today, we were the first and we are now the largest UK-based provider of multi-carrier services. That's across the UK, EU and worldwide, and also multi-carrier technology, so the tools and software that shippers are going to need to get parcels shipped and manage their returns.
Fantastic. So I think it's fair to say, Bobby, you might be in high demand at the moment because there's been a few parcel delays and issues since the 1st of January, since Brexit. Things like the first thing we saw was carriers just stopping shipping before Christmas, around about the 23rd of December. They said, right, that's it, no more parcels until the new year. And we all thought they'd go away and get their systems right when we ship stuff, when we go back to work 2nd of January, everything would be fine, and it wasn't. I don't want to pick on a particular carrier because they all had problems, but DHL had problems with phytosanitary products. DPD returned a load of products. Amazon have still got their partnered carrier program suspended with UPS. And they, again, not only had to return everyone's parcels, but in the end, they just gave up and said, OK, any labels you printed, we're cancelling them, we're refunding you, we'll let you know when we've got the paperwork sorted and we can start shipping again. So this is a real problem, Bobby, and seeing people all over the internet saying, I bought something, I want to return it, can't get a full refund, they don't know how to get the customs and duty back, or just, I ordered something, it got returned to the seller, and I don't know how to get my product. And even stories where you've got retailers that have got products that have been returned, they don't know what paperwork to do for customs to actually get it back, and they're just leaving it with the carrier, hoping the carrier will, I guess, put it in the bin or just make the problem go away.
Yeah, I think today really is about putting ourselves in the shoes of the customer. The customer, whether that customer is in Germany, whether that customer is in France, whether we are the customer in the UK, having bought something off a retailer in France, and understanding, looking at it from their perspective of how this has impacted their experience of online shopping. And, you can look at the screen now, there's examples of, say, customers in France that have been, rejecting parcels because suddenly they receive their parcel and they're told they have to pay tax, which they weren't expecting. And that's happening not just in France. You can see the people here complaining in the UK as well. Customers are really angry about being hit with unexpected costs, which, they weren't told about up front. And that's duties and taxes that they're having to pay. But also on top of that, there's huge delays and backlogs happening at the borders. And it's not because of initial teething problems that you described earlier, Chris, where, things were changing literally day to day. And so carriers, retailers, we were all having to think on our feet and move very quickly to adapt as changes were happening. But this is more now to think about, this is now really more around the whole efficiency or lack of efficiency around the capture and transmission of customs declarations, the information that's mandatory. Carriers need to clear parcels through the customs borders. And if they're not doing that efficiently, either because the information provided is incomplete, inaccurate, or even is missing, then that is going to impact the customer experience because their parcel is going to be delayed or may not get there at all. But also the retailers, because making mistakes with that information is going to determine how much tax you're going to be paying, how much duties and taxes you'll be paying. You do not want to make mistakes with that.
And I guess it's hyper important because customers won't clear it without the right data. And if you get the wrong data, then, as you say, the customs charge could be excessive compared to what it actually should be. So really
either way, it's not a good scenario. You're either going to overpay or underpay, and that's going to have ramifications in both cases. The takeaway is that best practice is to be transparent upfront with your customers in terms of the duties and taxes that get calculated and what that cost is going to be, regardless of whether you decide to pass that on to them and show it as, include it in the price up front, or whether you're just being transparent about what the duty is that they may have to pay when the parcel arrives with them, if you're going to be shipping something duty at place, for example. So one is being transparent. You need to be transparent. And the second thing is that there's just been so much focus on keeping up to date with all the changes, all the legislation changes, etc., all the process changes, and the sharing of that information, understanding of that information. But there's been little forthcoming in actually being able to present easy, simple tools for retailers to help make this whole thing easier and to automate it.
You've got my attention there, Bobby, because I think that is true. There's been kind of a lack of affordable tools to capture and transmit this customs data, make it fast, make it easy, make it accurate. And I'm hoping that's what this webinar today is all about. So tell us what tools you've got. How can you make our life easy? What can you actually do for retailers that are struggling?
Okay. Well, I'm hoping that, what we're presenting today is going to give some answers to some of the retailers and also show how this whole process can be made a lot more simple and a lot smoother. So what we've done is we've brought together three of our multi-carrier shipping products, right, and called them a bundle. But essentially, we've put together GFS Checkout, which is our tool that integrates with the retailer's website through the checkout process, so that when the customer comes to do checkout, it not only enables you to manage all the delivery options, but it will automatically calculate duties and taxes. Also gives the retailer the option whether they want to present the final price to the customer as including the taxes or excluding the taxes. The whole point is that the retailer's got that flexibility. And like we said, it's whether you pass the duties onto the customer up front or afterwards, best practice is be transparent. So let the customer know what the duties and taxes are that are going to be applicable on their purchase up front. So that's the GFS Checkout, which takes care of duties and taxes calculations and all the delivery options. Then we move on to GFS Selector, which is our multi-carrier labeling platform. And that is the platform also which creates the electronic customs declarations and the paperwork you're going to need for all your outbound shipments. And then, of course, you've got stuff coming back. So GFS Global Returns Pro, which enables the customer to return items that they no longer want to have to the retailer, but also generates the required declaration that needs to come with a returned order so that the retailer is going to get duty relief on any returns orders. You do not want to be paying tax, duties twice. So bringing those three products together into what we call our technology bundle will take care of everything from checkout to labeling and dispatch to return, and along each point takes care of all the declarations and all the declarations that need to be made along the way. And it's just putting it into a simple bundle that says, these three products will hopefully take care of point to point duties and taxes all the way through the journey.
And this is all electronic. It's no physical paperwork to fill out, and all of the paperwork is done electronically. Am I right?
Absolutely, yes. Provided your carriers can support paperless trade or paperless returns. So it's completely configurable and completely flexible. And the beauty of it is that our technology comes as part of the service with our multi-carrier services. So, Chris, I'm not going to say anything more about it because otherwise I'm going to steal the thunder from Phillipe, who's now going to actually do live demos of those three products. So let me now hand over to Phillipe, or should I say, bonjour, Phillipe. I understand that we're going to be doing some shopping for your apartment in Paris today. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. We're going to talk through the journey of a customer placing an order online using GFS Checkout to control the available delivery options and our duties and taxes calculator. We'll then see our GFS Selector product produce a carrier compliant label along with an electronic customs declaration for our shipments. And then we'll move through to GFS Global Returns to look at returning an item for our order, along with carrier label generation and the customs declaration to ensure there is duty relief on the return. So for the purposes of today, we've created a fictitious online shop, which is called Style. As you can see, it sells a range of furniture, lighting, and household products. This is actually a Magento store, but it could just as easily be any of the popular e-commerce platforms that retailers are using today, such as Visualsoft, Shopify, or WooCommerce, for example. So let's start shopping. This rose gold clock will look really good on one of my walls in my apartment. So we're going to add that to my basket. And we French love our coffee. So I'm going to add this coffee cup to my basket. I need a new mug. Good. So I've now got my two items in my basket and I'm going to go through the checkout process. So we'll now navigate to the checkout screen. And this is where GFS Checkout integrates with your e-commerce platform to manage delivery options and to calculate duties and taxes. So first of all, before we can see all of the delivery options and the duties and taxes, we just need to enter our address details and communication details, which I will very quickly do now. I'll change my country to France and then populate my address.
So while you're doing that, Phil, I'm guessing all the magic works from the GFS checkout once it knows where I live, which for you is in Paris, in France.
It does, yes, Chris. So once we've entered all of our delivery address details, there is a request that goes off to checkout and it returns all of the relevant delivery options for the customer based on the details that we've entered. So in this scenario here, as they're both lightweight parcel sized items, then I've got the option to collect my order. So it shows a map of all of the click and collect points near my apartments. In this scenario, it's DPD pickup shops, but could be a variety of any other carrier pickup shops that our customers may want to use. If it was a big, heavy piece of furniture, for example, then it's likely that we would have different rules and different services set up for that. And what's great about GFS Checkout is that it's a rules-based engine. It comes pre-configured with over 1,000 delivery options, including over 75,000 click and collect locations across the UK and the EU and the rest of the world. And as the retailer, you can configure it any way you want, basically, and also use it to easily switch services on or off if you need to. It's great for customer experience because it lets you offer a wide range of delivery choice and convenience to the customer. So I've now specified here in a minute the option that I want to select for my delivery, the e-commerce economy delivery option. However, for example, I know Style are running a promotion at this moment in time on their site, offering free delivery on orders over £20. So if I wanted to add something else into my basket for my order to take it over the £20 threshold, I could do. To be honest, I'm happy with what I've got in my basket, and I'll proceed with these two items. So these rules, it's not just shipment value, basket value, that can be used to control different delivery options, free delivery, for example. It can also be controlled by a variety of other different options. So, for example, the weight of the order, and the country, the destination country it's being delivered to, the shipping zone it's being delivered to, which could be a group of countries grouped together, a particular postcode, a particular town. So there's a whole variety of different options that can be set up in the rules in the background within GFS Checkout. As I said, I've decided I don't want to spend any more, so I'll stick with my clock and I'll stick with my mug and choose economy delivery, as it's the cheapest option and I'm in no rush. Now here's where duties and taxes are calculated, just right underneath our delivery options. And if you look here, we can see clearly we have the value of the items of the goods in our basket, £12.99. We can see clearly our delivery cost and our duties and taxes amounts being calculated as well and displayed. This particular retailer, Style, has chosen to include the duties in the price of the shipping. So in this scenario, it's showing as a DDP, DTP, duties, taxes paid scenario. Our duties and taxes calculator also gives the retailer the option to not include duties upfront and to show duty unpaid shipping prices delivered at place, which means that the customer, Phillipe, would be asked to pay the duties on receipt of his parcel. So whether you decide to present duty paid or duty unpaid shipping prices to your customers, it's always best from a customer experience perspective to be transparent and let the customer know what duties they're going to be paying, so there's no nasty surprises when the goods arrive. The calculation of the duties
makes a lot of sense, and at least Phillipe knows exactly what this is going to cost him now, and especially paying the duty up front. Okay, it's a little bit more than the prices he saw originally on the website, but at least he knows now before he clicks the buy button, this is exactly what I'm going to pay, and that's it.
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt there. One other point to make with checkout, I think, Chris, I know we're discussing duties and taxes here, is that being able to offer your customers the widest choice of delivery options is great for basket conversion rates. So checkout will not only help you calculate duties and taxes for transparency, but hopefully you'll also see higher basket conversion rates because you're able to offer your customers so much more delivery choice and convenience as well.
Yeah, like Phil showed us, the option of the pickup shop or having it delivered to the door, or a faster delivery, or as we've chosen today, or as Phillipe has chosen today in Paris, and the economy delivery option because he's not in a hurry.
Yeah,
it is. And just also to point out as well the duties and taxes calculated, it's not actually just for Europe, it's global. So if we were going to the US, and each state in the US has its own tax codes and rules. So here, if that was the case, we have the ability to show these state code values and any applicable duties to the US too, if it was a US order. So it's just really important to point that out to the listeners that obviously this is a French scenario, but we also have the ability to show it from a global perspective as well.
Fantastic.
So coming back to Phillipe and our order to France, obviously we're selected e-commerce economy. I will now just check out and complete my order. And I've now placed my order for delivery to Paris, and it's gone through to Styles Warehouse. It's been processed through their WMS system and shipped along with the correct labels and customs declaration to avoid any hitches when it goes through the customs clearance process. Let's now move over to the warehouse where Phillipe's order is waiting to be labelled and dispatched with GFS Selector, our multi-carrier labelling platform. You're now going to see how Selector generates the carrier compliant label for the shipment, and also how Selector passes the required customs data to the carrier, which they need in order to get the parcel through customs at the French border. The customs declaration data is passed to the carrier electronically, so there's no need for physical paperwork. In other words, it supports paperless trade, and all of the carriers that GFS offer to our customers, the data is passed electronically for customs clearance purposes. And the only carrier which does require a commercial invoice in some scenarios is DHL Express, either if they don't allow it to that destination, for example, Russia, or paperless trade is only available up to a certain shipment value. So I'm now in my warehouse in front of my GFS Selector screen, and I can see Phillipe's order here. And this has been imported from Styles WMS system via our CSV integration. We also have an API integration, or customers can also enter their shipments manually, or it could also be via our GFS channel connector product. So to give a very brief overview, we have our shipments here that's been imported into Selector. We can see the address details, phone number, email address. We can also see our order reference here, which is carried across to the carrier, relevant carrier service codes. Moving through to the customs details, more importantly, we can see initially when the screen loads, we have our breakdown of the two items that are in the basket. And we have, more importantly, in this second tab, more detailed customs details. So we have the values of both of the items. We have the weights of both of the items here and here. The descriptions here and here, and the harmonized codes here and here. We also have the ability within the payer field to select whether it's the sender paying the duties. So that will be DTP scenario, or the recipient paying the duties, DAP. So in this scenario, we've got sender. We also have the total value of the items, £12.99 GBP. And further down here, we have what we call the overall description of the items that Style sells, which covers an overall description of the items that are in the parcel, which is furniture, lighting, and household accessories. The shipper's EORI number is held at an account level, and customers who use our API integration can also choose to pass their EORI number in the API request. So, as we said, Phillipe's order has been picked and packed. We have all of the required details in Selector, and we can now generate the label and the required customs information to be passed through to the carrier. If this was real life, we will be seeing the label coming out on a GFS printer, which is next to me at the packing station, but we will now generate it and show it to screen. So
I think this is really important, because just going back to this selector screen, it's got all of the information from the order that I need, not just the person's name, address, and a phone number and email so that the courier can deliver, but all of the information that the customs clearance process needs. And I think that's where we've been hitting problems with deliveries. It is having that information ready for customs, the value, the description, the HS code, all of the things that we've never had to worry about before for Europe. GFS Selector's grabbed all of that from the order and got it all ready to send to the courier. So I'm excited now. Phil, show me the label.
Absolutely. I'll show it to screen. So I'm going to select print selected and show it to screen. And if I bring the label to screen, we can obviously see from a higher level some of that important information that's being passed over. So we've got the delivery address of Phillipe in Paris. It's PLT because France is a PLT destination. We have our order reference here as well. We have
Sorry, Phil, what does PLT mean?
Paperless trade. So
Gotcha.
what that means, Chris, is that all of the data for customs purposes and customs clearance has been passed electronically to the carrier. So there's no need for us or our customer to have to be able to generate any commercial invoices. There's some destinations, as I said earlier, for example, Russia, which don't offer PLT, paperless trade, where commercial invoice is required, but the majority of destinations do. And that's obviously printed on the label when it's a PLT destination for the delivery address. We also have here our waybill number, our DHL waybill number, and here a high-level overall description of Styles goods.
Fantastic. So all the detailed information has been passed electronically, doesn't need to be on the label.
No, it's there is some data that does get displayed, like the weight, the high level overall description of the contents, but the majority of information, the HS codes, the SKU codes, the descriptions, the individual item weights, that's all passed in the electronic data, which is sent through to the carrier, irrespective of which carrier it is, whether it's DPD, DHL, for example. So that's all done. The parcel has been labelled and dispatched with DHL, and they have all of the required customs data for clearance. So the parcel is now on its way to Phillipe in Paris. So let's go back to Phillipe, who has now received his order and wants to return one of the items. And this is where we use the third product in our bundle, GFS Global Returns Pro, where we see how quick and easy it is for customers to make a return. And we also see how the customs declaration is generated to ensure duty relief on returned items, to make sure you don't pay taxes twice on the same goods. So now I'm Phillipe, the customer again, and I'm going to make an online return. What you're seeing here is the GFS Global Returns portal, which can be branded with the retailer's logo, in this case Style, so that customers get a consistent brand experience. It's also multilingual and automatically displays the portal in the local language dependent upon where the customer's IP address is. So we will just enter in our order number that we're returning. Along with our postcode. This now brings up my order on screen, which you can see here. I simply need to select the item that I'm going to return, which is the coffee cup, and select the reason for the return. So let's pick no longer needed or wanted, and we'll then move through to the next screen. By the way, GFS Global Returns is fully configurable. So as the retailer, you can configure it to be and have your own rules and requirements for managing returns. The carrier selection screen, which is what's displayed now, is where Phillipe can choose how he wants to return the item. Again, GFS Global Returns Pro is fully configurable to allow setup of different carrier services and charges for different countries. And it's also available in more than 36 languages. So if I was actually in France today, it would be displaying in French for me. But as my IP address is in the UK, that's why it's in English. So we're going to select DHL Express. And then we would just confirm all of our details along with a collection address, which I can select as being Wednesday. And we would then be given a time slot of when that is likely to be collected. And this is the point where the interaction is done with the carrier. The consignment is created and the customs details are passed to the carrier. The carrier label can be generated to screen and also emailed to the customer. I'll now bring up on screen the returns label, which I've been emailed. So here we have the label. We can see here, this is where it is being collected from, and this is where it's being delivered to, which is Styles warehouse back in the UK. And there are also instructions for Phillipe so that it can be explained to him what needs to go on the outside of the parcel and also what needs to be on the inside of the parcel. Let's move further down and look at the customs declaration in a bit more detail. So we have the RGR, the returns good relief number here. We have the CPC, the customs procedure code here. We have the EORI number here. And also importantly, we have the carrier and the original tracking number for Phillipe's original order. And we receive all this information in on a daily basis into the returns portal from our customers. So this can be used to pass when the consignment is created for the return, because all of this information, along with also what's displayed on the customs declaration, the description of the goods here, the harmonized code here, the item weight here, and the unit value here, all of this information is passed to the carrier to ensure there's no duties being paid on the return. So that's now complete. Phillipe has submitted his return via the portal, and you saw how it took no more than 2 to 3 minutes for Phillipe to do that. As soon as Phillipe's done that, it becomes immediately visible to Style in the returns admin portal, which I'll now log into.
Just before you do that, Phil.
Yep.
In fact, what you carry on while you do it. There's quite a lot of information on that returns form. Like you said, the original shipping tracking number and the original carrier. And I'm guessing all of this stuff is important if you want to actually get a duty credit rather than just being charged duties when it comes back into the country again. You don't want to send it out and pay French duty, have it come back and then get charged English duty. When it comes back through customs, they'll recognise that you paid duty and now it's returned so you can reclaim the duty.
Absolutely. And that's why, so our customers that use Global Returns Pro, on a daily basis, they feed into the system all of their orders that have been dispatched since their last feed was imported. And the imported information, like I said, is we're getting all the information in that is regarding that order. So the SKU codes, the quantities, the weights, the harmonized codes also. And then also in the portal itself, we hold other important information like the RGR, the CPC, and the EORI number. And all of that information, when it's passed on the customs declaration to the carrier, it just ensures that the retailer isn't paying the duties twice. They get the duty relief when it comes back into the UK, for example.
Perfect.
So we've opened up the returns portal. And as I said, when Phillipe has done his return, it became immediately available to Style in the returns admin portal. And you can see that straight away if I go to the return orders selection. There is a number of different search criteria that you can search by. So, for example, a particular order number, a particular SKU code, or you can search for returns for a particular customer. If I was to move down and select our return, we can see we have all of our returns details here, what's being returned, the reason why it's being returned, return shipping method, it's coming back with details. We can see the collection details, and more importantly here as well, we can see the collection date and we can see the collection time as well. As I mentioned earlier, I'll show you how to configure Global Returns Pro to suit your own rules and requirements of how you want to manage your returns. And within the administration section, we have that information held. So we have the logo of our customer, our retailer. We have our RGR code, our CPC. We have our EORI number. It's also possible to hold the address details, the returns policy. So, for example, how many days consumers have to return items, estimated refund time, what carriers are used from each country for returns, and also what costs are applicable. Are we charging for the return? Are we charging for the carrier, for the label, for example?
So pretty comprehensive then.
It is, yes, and obviously we will help and assist and guide the retailer in how to do all of that setup as well, and what's required, and the relevant feeds from their systems to get those details in to assist them with all of this process.
Chris, one thing I would put, the other point I would make here, Chris, and it's probably something which every if we've got sellers on the webinar today that's going to be familiar to them, is this whole challenge they have around having upfront visibility of what's coming back, when it's coming back, and also how quickly they can turn it around and get it back into stock for resale. So GFS Global Returns Pro not only helps with the duties, the customs declarations for visibility of what's coming in, and if they wanted to at this point, they could have put it back into stock for resale and get that turned around ASAP.
Yeah, and I think you're totally right, Bobby. And I think what it really comes down to is something you mentioned right at the start. It's all about the data. You need the right data when you're shipping the product, which GFS Checkout is giving us, so that the customer knows what duties and taxes are going to be paid, and whether I, as the retailer, are paying it up front or whether it's going to be collected from them at the doorstep. Then we've got GFS Selector, which is taking that data, making sure it's passed electronically where possible to the carrier. And then for returns, again, it's all about the data, making sure we've got that outbound shipping information so that they know it's a return. And for me as the retailer, knowing what my stock profile is, potentially in some categories, like for instance clothing, where returns are very, very high, my biggest supplier might actually be returns from my customers, where they buy 2 or 3 items and return 2 of them, and they're going to be giving me more stock back than I actually ordered in the first place.
Exactly.
So
when you're operating on such tight profit margins, you can't afford to have money tied up in returns. You need to turn that around and put it back into stock as quickly as possible for resale. But yes, it's about the whole data. It is about data, having the correct data, complete data, but also it's automating all those processes. Because if you were doing all of this manually, then you've got human error, you've got the time it takes, everything is much slower, much more inefficient, and there's far more room for error.
Fantastic. Now, we've got some questions coming in, so I want to try and get to them next if we can. start the Q&A. So the first question we've got is a really interesting one, which is, if you sell on Amazon and eBay or other marketplaces, can you still use Selector for labeling and shipping orders from both? And probably actually, Bobby, unfair to ask you, Phil, if I can direct that question at you.
Yes, of course. So
you are the techie guy.
Yeah, so our customers can use our GFS channel connector to connect Selector to eBay, Amazon, Etsy, Not on the High Street, Shopify, Magento, and WooCommerce. That's one possible route. So it basically, you still have one labeling system for all your carriers and your sales channels. Or as an alternative way, customers who have an order management system or a warehouse management system can also integrate with GFS Selector via our CSV or API integration.
Oh, great! So I've got two options. If I'm a smaller seller and maybe a mainly marketplace seller, I can connect the marketplaces directly. But if I've already got a warehouse management system or an order management system, I can have all my orders going to there and then just connect my one order management system into Selector.
Yes, that's correct, Chris. It just really boils down to what the customer's IT requirements are and what systems they're using. So we have the solutions which are flexible enough to meet all of those needs for our customers.
No, I like this, and I think a lot of other people will, because it means I've not got to go out and buy some technology just so that I can use your technology. I can make yours work with whatever I'm already using. I think that's a really key factor.
Yeah.
And got another question. Sorry, Bobby.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut it. The other thing I would say, because I've seen this myself, is that it also means that you just have one labeling platform, a multi-carrier labeling platform, rather than what I've seen in warehouses where, you know, on one pick and pack station, you've got 5-6 different label printers, one for each carrier that they're using. You know, now you can say actually just replace that with just one multi-carrier labeling platform.
Yeah, perfect. And again, couriers, when they come and install their own printer, it's a different printer, different label size and format. At least if you've got it all coming out of the same printer, you can pack everything in the same place. Yeah. But the next question, while we're talking about different carriers, Bobby, is how many delivery options do you recommend offering to customers? I mean, there's so many nowadays. I could have next day by 1 o'clock. I could have economy. I could have a 2-day service. I could have a click and collect at a shop or a click and collect at a locker, or so many other options. So how many should we really be offering to customers, and how many is just literally overkill?
It all boils down to, you know, commercially what makes sense for your business, but also from a customer experience perspective, we always say give them the broadest choice possible, because by doing that you're making sure that you're making it very easy for them to find an option which is going to be convenient for them at that point in time. So for example, if it's my husband's birthday tomorrow and I'm late, you know, I've forgotten all about it, I haven't bought him a present, I want to go onto the website, I want to be offered express next day, you know, next day delivery service, right? So that's convenient for me. What's important to know is just to recognize that from customers, delivery choice and convenience has a fundamental impact on whether their final purchase decision, and if they decide to buy from you or abandon their purchase at that, you know, and not go forward with that. Certainly from the research that we've done, consumers, I think 1 in 2 consumers will abandon a purchase if they don't see a convenient delivery option when they get to checkout. So, you know, there's no golden rule as to how many, but you must offer them a wide choice so that they can find what's convenient for them.
Fantastic. And then for the international shipping, and I think actually we should point out here, this isn't just, we talked about shipping to Europe or America or the rest of the world. GFS could also ship to the UK. So I think it's worth pointing that out, that it does cover everything. But for those that are shipping overseas, and particularly for those that have been struggling with Brexit, how do you integrate my data for the duties and tax calculation? Phil, probably a question for you. How do I get that data? Where do I get it from? How do I get it into GFS so that GFS Checkout can actually share it with my customer?
Okay, so just to be clear, there's two separate integrations for GFS Checkout and GFS Duties and Taxes Calculator into your websites. The first, the GFS Checkout and the Avalara Taxes and Duties engine. In both cases, there's actually a variety of different ways to integrate, whether that's our general RESTful API integration or with widgets. And when it comes to the widgets, the great thing about the widgets is that they require minimal development work, making them very simple and straightforward for our customers to implement and deploy.
So I've got to say, I've used widgets on WordPress before, and I love them because when you say minimum development work, am I right in thinking what that really means is just a little bit of CSS to make the widget match your website so that it's not different colors or different fonts, and it really is that simple?
Yeah, it's very simple, and it just goes into, so we've got widgets, for example, for WooCommerce as an example, and for Magento, and it makes it really simple and straightforward for our customers to integrate checkout using those widgets with minimum developments and also minimal costs as well, especially if they've not got a developer or don't want to outsource any development work.
This is really drag and drop level of integration, isn't it? So
it is very simple and straightforward with the widgets. Yes, they are very, very handy for our customers.
Fantastic. Now, the question everyone's going to be asking, and I think this one's for you, Bobby, this all sounds great. It looks brilliant, but what's it going to cost me? What's the bottom line?
Very little, if anything. Our technology comes as part of the service with GFS. So simply put, if you're buying the carriage from us, then you get the technology as part of the service. However, with GFS Checkout, Phil mentioned how, the duties and taxes calculation part of it is actually powered by Avalara. So there's a small fee for the Avalara piece of the service. And then similarly, when you come to global returns, there is a small subscription fee with global returns because part of that is powered by the Zigzag platform. So our technology itself doesn't cost anything, but if there is a small cost in those two situations where we're partnering with, the best in the industry, there will be a minor cost.
So this all sounds great, and I think it's been really useful to see from a customer point of view just how easy and fast it can be, both to order and know up front what duties and taxes I'm going to have to pay, and if I want to return something, just be able to log onto a portal, tick a box, I want to return it, and get a courier, and the collection's organised, or maybe I drop it off depending on the service I'm choosing. I think just having the right tools in place to take care of all the duties and taxes and customs declarations for both outbound and returns is just what a lot of people have been looking for over the last couple of months. And thrilled to say that we've got some special offers for you. And the GFS software that we've seen today, which is GFS Checkout, GFS Selector, and Global Returns Pro, come, as Bobby's just said, with the GFS multi-carrier services. So if you're a GFS customer and you're already booking your carriage through GFS, then you can have all of those services pretty much free of charge, with the odd exceptions, as Bobby said, the Avalara small contributions. But we've got two offers for you today. And the first is, if you're shipping more than 50 parcels a day, so you've got some volume, you can get a free consultation with GFS to discuss EU shipping services and support. No cost, no obligation, a video call. So if you want to find out more, and you've got that volume and 50 parcels a day, whether it be UK over overseas, get in touch with GFS. And by the way, I should say here, we'll be making this webinar available on Tamebay as of tomorrow morning, and we'll make sure you've got all the links and the contact details on Tamebay. So just check out in the morning if you need to know how to get in touch. Now, the second offer is to discuss the technology bundle, which is practically free with GFS carrier services. So again, if you like the look of what you've seen today and you want to make basically your life easy, but more importantly, your customers' life easy, if you want them to be able to order from you, see what the duties and taxes are and whether they're paying them or whether you're paying them up front for them, have their parcels zipped through customs because all of the information has been sent electronically. And if they need to return something, have a simple portal where they can just enter their order number and say, yeah, that product, want to return it, no, the other one I'm keeping, and be able to get a courier and return it. Then again, if you want to talk about that technology bundle and how to get it for your business, then again, get in touch with GFS. Don't forget to look out for email after today's webinar with links to the offers, and we'll also make the slides available and the recording again, as I said. But if you don't see your email, check out Tamebay tomorrow morning, and it'll be there, and it'll be on tomorrow's daily newsletter as well. So Phil, Bobby, I really want to thank you today. I think it's been fascinating to see from a customer's point of view just how easy everything can be, but more importantly for the people that are watching today, the retailers, for them to actually see some tools which can actually solve not some of, but all of the issues that they've been facing, and make the delivery process a seamless, enjoyable experience once again. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Chris. And yeah, we're here to help.
Okay, and thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Chris. No problem at all.